Hello everybody, we are here with your Hera guide today. We'll be playing Hera in the mid lane, of course. We'll be starting off with a Mage's Blessing, a tier 1 penetration item, healing potion, 2 mana potions, and of course, our purification beads. Hera is back in the game. She was out of the game for a while because she was bugged. Her and Ardio got removed from the game for a while, but they are both back in the game now. Perfectly just in time for our Hera guide. So on Hera, we will be getting our level 1 first. We'll talk about her passive at the end, kind of when we talk about her ultimate, because they're kind of intertwined. So Hera's 1 is Royal Assault. This is a 2-pronged based ability with a very, very unique targeter in Smite. This ability hits twice, one on that cone in front of you and once on the rectangle. The cone does less damage than the fists do, and those fists can actually hit more than once. There's a little itty-bitty spot in the middle, if you look on the targeter, where you actually get both of these fists that come out of the wall that hit. So technically, there is 3 potential damage numbers on this ability. You've got the cone, you've got 1 fist, and then you've got a second fist that does an extra 15% damage if you hit it directly in the middle. So if you're using it point blank on a target and you hit him with all 3, you can theoretically get that with 3 times damage strikes, which is really nice. Thoth actually just dashed in on mid. He is going to be in trouble because Thoth did the red start. Good red start there from our Thor, going from speed to the red buff to make sure he was in the mid lane extra early. So our 1 is our main wave clear ability. We're going to be mostly using it to clear the wave. Our 2 is the ability that we're going to get at level 2. And this ability is awesome. It is a line-based ability, pretty thick, pretty long. That's what she said. So not super hard to hit, but it does travel pretty slow. It has a fairly slow travel time. And this ability will do damage to everybody in a line. It'll hit minions, it'll hit gods, it'll go through gods, it'll go through minions, the whole 9 yards. And if it hits an enemy minion, all it's gonna do right there is some nice damage, but if it hits an enemy god, it will polymorph them for 1.222 seconds, and it is also a 20% slow. Very good PvP ability. Like I said, you can hit multiple people with this ability at once. I'm gonna go ahead and back it up for safety. And at level 3, we got our 3. This is Hera's getaway ability. Not really so much of a getaway ability in the traditional sense, but it is really good. And probably one of the most underestimated parts of Hera's kit. This ability gives you a shield, 50 to 250 plus 20 per level. Plus, it gives you 15% movement speed, and that shield will last for 5 seconds. Now, this ability is also going to interact with our ultimate and kind of our passive, so we need to talk about all that because all of this starts to resolve around Argus. Argus is our ultimate. With our ultimate, we summon down a big fat mechy boy from the heavens to come crush our opponents. When we throw him out at a target location, it will do damage and be a knockup at target location. So I'm going to throw it down right there on Thoth. You can see it lands on him. It is a knockup. And then he's going to continue to be out on the map and chase people down. So once you have him down on the map, you can right-click again, and you have this targeter, and you can use him to go attack things. He'll attack minions, he'll attack towers, objectives, enemy gods, whatever you want the big beefy boy to go handle. Argus is the main part of Hera's kit, and it interacts with a lot of stuff. So let's go look at our 3 that we talked about. If Argus is active, Argus shines with the same divine power as Hera, which means that he moves at an increased rate and he does AoE damage. So while your 3 will give you 15% movement speed, it'll give Argus 50% movement speed. Plus, he basically gets a mystical mail effect around his character, allowing him to stick on targets with his autos and do extra damage just by being near them. So it's a great offensive ability when you have Argus on the floor. Argus himself, you can see the damage, 1 to 300 damage when it comes down. Argus lasts for 40 seconds. A lot of the times he'll die before then, and a lot of the times you will want him to die before then because you don't start getting the cooldown until after Argus has passed back to the Nether Realm. So oftentimes you want to kind of sacrifice Argus after a fight in order to make sure you get your cooldown back up. On top of that, Argus has a bajillion health. Yes, that's right, 7 to 3,500 health. He gets protections as you rank it up, and he gets increased movement speed as you rank up her ultimate. So now we can do a loop-de-loop back over to Hera's passive, which is each time Hera deals damage to an enemy god with their abilities or basic attacks, Argus, the defender's cooldown, is reduced by 1 second. In Divine Shrouds, your 3 cooldown is reduced by 0.33 seconds. If Argus is active, he is instead healed instead of having his cooldown reduced. So you can see the Argus's heal, 20 plus 5 per level, and then you can see Argus's damage on his hit chain, 30, 30, and 45, plus magical power scaling. Yeah, that's right. Magical power scaling not only affects your damage on your abilities, but it also affects Argus's damage on his land and his auto attacks. What does this mean for us? It means we have 2 big build priorities on Hera. Those build priorities are big fat power and cooldown. Those are the 2 things that we want the most on Hera. So you're going to see us with items like Spear of Desolation that give us lots of power and cooldown. With the Mage's Blessing cooldown boots right into a Spear of Desolation, we are going to have a lot of cooldown. Thoth just dashed, and he very smartly runs into the jungle. If you see somebody use their movement ability near you on Hera, that is Danger Will Robinson for them. You can always throw down that ulti and get that damage off. I'm gonna pop my shield here for that increased movement speed, so I've got a better chance at dodging some of these abilities. I'm gonna pop a preemptive beads since I know that the Thana was gonna blink on me right there and use some abilities, and then I can just throw down Argus safely and protect myself. So Hera is very unique in her playstyle. Hera, while she doesn't have a like a leap or a dash or anything, I want you to actually treat her like she does. Between her polymorph on her 2, her knockup on her ulti, the bonus movement speed, and the shield from her 3, she's actually a very safe mid laner. So compared to somebody like a Zeus, who you have to be more defensive with because if you get ganked, you're just dead, Hera is not the same way. She has so many things at her disposal to help her get out. So you can play Hera more akin to like a Thoth than you do necessarily play her like a Zeus. You can use your 3 to get yourself out of your base a little bit faster. Pretty much all movement abilities you use out of the fountain, because by the time you get back to your lane, it'll be back up, and it just helps you get back faster so you miss out on less XP. So for our leveling order on Hera, it is going to be 4, 1, 2, 3. We're going to get our ultimate whenever we can because it buffs up our Argus. We're going to get our 1 max up because this is our poke damage as well as our lane clear, followed by our 2 because it increased the polymorph duration, and finally our 3. Our 3 is a great ability, so we're not shunning it because it is a bad ability. It just simply doesn't help us out quite as much as the other abilities do. All 4 of Hera's abilities really, really strong, doesn't have a weak ability. A lot of gods will have one ability that's like kind of schmeh, not Hera. All of her abilities, very good. I mean, you can just see the raw damage output right there. So I'm throwing out Argus. That's going to knock up Fafnir. Here's the cool thing about Argus. Argus doesn't care. Argus will literally dive through a tower and tank it for you, so that way you can run through. If I needed to run back through this tower, I could throw back Argus and then run back through it again. I'm going to have Argus just kind of sit here and beat on the tower because he will go ahead and hit it. and I'll be able to run through no problemo. This means Hera is a great tower diver. As far as mages go, Hera has one of the best tower dives of all of them because she can summon Argus underneath the tower range, and then he will sit there and tank the entire thing. And because he has so much HP, we're talking a lot of tower shots that he can tank, particularly by the end of the game. I mean, Phoenix Assault at the end of the game with Argus tanking is awesome. It allows the rest of your team to go in and just not even have to think about tanking the Phoenix, which allows your gods like Athena to focus on things like taunting and getting the aggression going. Gonna see if I can't help out my Thor right here. So we should talk about the fact that Hera's abilities do go through walls. Everything she does can go through walls outside of obviously her 3, because her 3 is a self-stim. But your 1 you can throw over walls, your 2 will go through walls, it is very long, and of course Argus you can throw over walls as well. You silly Thanatos! Get him, Thor! He's gonna live right there. He's a sneaky boy, a sneaky boy. So you can throw all of these over walls, through walls, whatever you need to do, which means walls are your friend on Hera. Utilize them in your jungle fight. If you can, sit behind some walls, dude. Just sneakily throw your stuff right on through. Oh my god, Hera is insane. So right there, you saw our standard Hera combo. Our standard Hera combo is going to be one of the 2 followings, just depending on how your ability cooldowns are looking when you start the fight. Right there, we did 4. We did our 4 for the knockup, which allowed us to know that the target was going to be standing still. After our knockup hit from Argus, we threw down our poly, right? So ulti, while the animation is playing from Argus falling down, we throw down our 2. This means that they're now going to be polymorphed and slowed, which allows us to follow up with our 1, of course, quickly clicking our 3 in between them to make sure that while Argus is beating down on the enemy god, they're also getting bled out by mystical nail. Don't be afraid to use that 3 aggressively on Hera. It really does provide a lot of damage. Not to mention, using it preemptively on Hera is also nice in a fight because it prevents you from taking damage because the shield is going to tank it for you, which means you don't have to back to base as often as you would have had to. Even though you don't have lifesteal, I'm going to try to use my 3 to gain a little bonus movement speed right there in order to make it to that red buff in time. So your standard combo is 4, 2, 1. I would get in the habit on Hera of trusting yourself. I know it can be a hard one, but confidently throw down your Argus and then immediately start channeling your 2. Sometimes Argus is gonna miss and then you're gonna miss your poly. That's okay. But if you trust yourself and if you throw down that ulti and then the poly, you're gonna guaranteed hit it pretty much every single time because they'll still be in that knock-up animation, so they cannot avoid the poly effect on your 2. If you want to be a little safer on your initiation, that's fine. You want to make sure you're not trying to waste anything. Then the other way that you can go about this is sitting behind a tier 2 tower. I'm just gonna pop my shield and run through this. That way I don't take any damage. He got taunted. 2, 1, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The other way that you can go about it is throw down your poly first. And if your poly hits somebody, then you can throw down your ulti because you've got a lot more time after the poly effect to throw down your ulti and make a decision. So if you want to throw down the 2, then the 4 in 1, you can. The more effective combo is 4, 2, 1. But if you're a little bit worried about it, there's nothing wrong with doing 2, 4, 1 as your combination. So I'm going to back up this game. I'm looking at their composition. They're not seeming too tanky. They've got a squishy Chiron. Fafnir's barely got his theme stacks going. Cucullin has no magical defense yet at this point, so I'm not worried at all about it. So I'm going to grab me a Rod of Tahuti in order to get a bunch of damage online. And now I'm going to go into a soul gem. That soul gem is going to finish up my 40% CDR for now until eventually we get rid of that mage's blessing. And it's also going to give me a little bit of extra burst and sustain, which is nice on Hera because we don't have a real getaway skill, and our 3 is great and all, but having that little bit of burst sustain, that little bit of healing that we get from it, especially on a god like Hera who has no inherent sustain, means that probably people aren't building anti-heal against us, means we're going to get maximum effectiveness out of this soul gem. So in order to maximize Hera's kit, you have to make sure you're maximizing Argus's effectiveness. And sometimes that's going to mean doing silly things like this. I'm throwing down Argus strictly to tank this tier 2 tower in the mid lane, so that way I can grab it. I know Argus is going to be able to tank that tier 2 tower, so he sits down, tanks it, the minions come back up, he continues to beat on it, and look at him, good boy is still at like half HP. Now I'm gonna run over and I'm gonna start up this Gold Fury, but I'm actually gonna hit it first because Argus might die while he's doing this. Now I know that he's running out of time. I'm gonna switch over that tanking over to Argus. That way I only took 200 damage from the Gold Fury. Argus was about to run out of time anyway, so he goes back to his dimension. And we get maximum effectiveness out of Argus. Argus is the absolute key to Hera's kit, so you need to find more and more ways to utilize him. Have him tank the Gold Fury. Have him tank a tier 2 tower. Have him chase down an enemy god into an area that maybe would be unsafe for you because he's got a long leash range. Have him use him as a knockup to hit your poly. Use him as a follow-up after your poly to hit the knockup guaranteed. That's the kind of stuff you're looking to do on Hera. You have to utilize him properly in order to maximize Hera's kit. Hera is also ranked viable. You don't see a lot of her in ranked, but she is very good. So she is casual and ranked viable. And now let's talk about some matchups. Hera absolutely crushes, and I mean crushes, gods that can't get over walls. I love Hera into gods like Thoth. I love Hera into gods like Merlin. Even though Merlin has a flicker, it's a really short range. Hera is so good against gods that can't jump over walls. The reason for that is because Hera's abilities, no matter what, you can force a small getaway skill, whether it is Thoth's dash, whether it is Merlin's flicker, you can force that dash, and then Argus will follow up with absolutely no issues whatsoever. You don't even have to worry about it. So an easy thing that you can do is throw down your 2 or your ulti. They use their getaway skill to avoid it, and then you follow up with the other one. Meanwhile, Argus is chasing them down. There is no escaping Argus from a movement speed standpoint. As long as you have your 3 popped and he's got that plus 50% movement speed, you literally cannot escape Argus as long as the Hera is trying to keep you in range. This means that anybody that can't jump over a wall is absolute bad business. So always be looking for gods that can't get over walls. The AMCs of the world, the Ramas of the world, the Thoths and the Merlins and all that good stuff. That's where you're looking to pick Hera. Hera doesn't struggle a bunch against a lot of gods. She doesn't have any like super nasty counter matchups that I want you to worry about. The one thing I would keep your eyes open for counter picks for Hera is walls. So much like the way that Hera does good against characters that can't jump away, the same kind of concept actually works against Hera. Hera cannot get through player-made walls, and it kind of makes her bonus movement speed useless. So pay attention if the enemy team has a lot of gods like Thor, like Ymir, Odin, Yemoja. Those kind of gods can put a lot of pressure on Hera because she can't utilize some of her kit in order to get away. She wants to kind of CC you and then start to run away. She can't really do that if she's stuck and you walled off her way to go. So be careful against player-made walls on Hera. That is her biggest problem that she has. So basically what you're good against is also what you struggle against. Basically, if you think, man, that character would struggle against player-made walls, that's what you're really good against. You just also happen to struggle against player-made walls, so keep that in mind. I'm gonna play this back because I hear a Thoth ulting. I'm gonna throw down Argus over in that Phoenix range, and I'm just gonna have him start attacking on the Phoenix. I'm just sitting back here, hitting the Phoenix, not a care in the world. Good boy Argus is just gonna sit here and tank it for me. Look at him go. He's just sitting back, tanking the Phoenix, having an absolute blasty blast. And now we're gonna run over to that mid Phoenix. Still pretty early. We might be able to end the game here, but it's probably better to just play it safe and kind of keep this one going. We've got Fire Giant. We might be able to. I'm gonna go start tanking this. Just kidding. I was gonna start tanking it, try to utilize that shield to help out my Athena, but she dashed into the range before me, and that's fine. They've all respawned. We've got 3 Phoenixes down now. We can go ahead and back it up. So once again, back into our build, you can see we've got full CDR with that soul gem, the full 40%. We've got a bunch of power from our Rod of Tahuti, and now we're just working on some late game pen. This team had fallen behind a little bit that we were going against, so I didn't need early penetration. Plus, they only had 2 tanks with the Kukulkan and the Fafnir. So I was confident I was going to be able to get my damage off with more power compared to more pen. But as we're moving into the late stage of the game, we want to make sure we do have that percent pen online. And because we're getting pen in the late game, it's always, always, always going to be Ob Shard. Here at the very end of the game, you have a lot of good options on Hera. I like a Doom Orb on Hera. You can also get a Doom Orb earlier in the game. Something I often do as well, particularly if I'm a little bit behind, is I replace where I've gotten Doom Orb and Rod of Tahuti. So I get Doom Orb as a 3rd item and then Rod of Tahuti as a 6th item. This allows me to have more movement speed, kind of like how we played on Hell, where if you don't have a traditional jump or a dash, you get more movement speed in order to help you live through situations. A Doom Orb is a great item to help you do that on Hera by giving you more movement speed in general, plus even more after you kill those minions, and she has absolutely no problem slaying the minions in order to get that bonus movement speed. All you gotta do is walk up to the wave and press your 1, and bada bing, bada boom, it is cleared. So keep that in mind as an item on Hera. You might want to get it earlier in the game. In this particular situation, we were getting big, so I got the early Rod of Tahuti in order to encourage the snowballing. But there's a good chance you'll end up getting it as your 3rd item on Hera. So that would be Mage's Blessing, Cooldown Boots, Spear of Desolation, and then a Doom Orb. As we're heading in towards the end of this match, that's right, folks. You know what Argus can do? Argus can tank the Titan if you want him to. So I'm going to throw down my shield on me. I'm going to throw down Argus into this Titan room. I'm going to stay outside of the Titan room, so that way the Titan is not going on me. And I'm just going to have Argus literally sit inside that room and tank the Titan and do AoE damage with the 3 and absolutely shred his brains out. So we would have finished up that Doom Orb as our last item. Then we would have sold our cooldown boots. Selling that cooldown boots means we would have been down to 20% CDR. We would have had back up to 30% with our red pot. So we would have been looking for an item that provided us with another 10% CDR as our final item. Really, any of the CDR items at that point would work well for you. Maybe you even overcap on CDR a little bit with the red pot. Maybe you even get a Chronos pendant just to have that -1 second passive timer ticking down for you to get to use your abilities more often. I don't even mind overcapping the CDR by the 10% on Hera, especially in a situation where it's the very, very end of the game and you're only overcapping because of your red pot. That's totally fine. Even a defensive item like a Mantle of Discord. Mantle of Discord is going to come up in a lot of our guides. Why? Because if you're ever playing a squishy character in Smite, and you think, boy golly, I could sure use one defense item, that one defense item is always going to be Mantle of Discord. It is always, always, always good on any squishy in any situation in the late game if you feel like you're just getting one shot, guys. And that is our Hera guide.